Welcome to the Cross the Line Podcast. My name is Carlos Smith, and today's episode is sponsored by Big Ben's Desserts and Charlene's Home Cooking. Today we have another special guest with us. She is the founder of Soaring Heights Financial Services, Ms. Brittany White. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Man, I can't complain. Been a little busy schedule, but like I said, I'm thankful that you had the time to, sit down with me and have a conversation today.
Absolutely.
Just telling people how we actually met. It was a couple of months ago, and it's crazy. It's already been 2 months already. But we met at Jared's event, the Success is My Power Conference. And that was the first time I met you. The only people I really knew then, I knew Ben, of course, and I knew Ben. I knew who else was there? It was me, you,
Marcus,
Marcus. Yeah, I knew Marcus.
Okay.
And I knew Brandy.
Okay.
I knew Brandy already as well. So that was my first time meeting everybody else there. So we had a good time. Thankful for Jared. I actually met Jared a couple of years ago. He actually did an interview when his first book came out, Success is My Prey.
Okay.
And he told me that he was going to write a book. And I was like, man, go for it. And he told me he was going to put together his own conference. So then about a year later, he reached out to me and said that he wanted me to be the host of it. So I was like, man, I would be honored. Man, just let me know what you need from me. And he put it together, brought everybody together, and it was a great event.
It was. You did amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So just reflecting, going back on that event, though, like, now that we had 2 months to kind of process everything, like, what was your experience from the Success is My Prey Conference?
My experience was definitely very liberating. I felt like it was a free atmosphere. I feel like the room was for everybody who was meant to be there. I felt like there was purpose in the room. I felt like there was a lot of power in the room. I definitely feel like there was a lot of opportunity for growth there from those of us who are already established and those who were new. I felt like there were opportunities there for us to learn more about each other, about different industries, different genres of entrepreneurship. I just think it was an all-around good event. I loved it.
Absolutely. Likewise for me. I felt like, I love, having everybody on that panel. But when y'all was speaking, it was like y'all were giving information to everybody. But, man, those words that y'all was speaking, I felt like y'all were talking directly to me. Because I was like, man, I was going through some stuff. And I was like, man, just the words that y'all was speaking, I was like, man, it was so true. Especially, how things can get tough when you're going after your own, you have your own vision of what you want to do. And I got some questions. I didn't get a chance to ask everything that I wanted to ask, but at the time it was just like everything that y'all was speaking was so true, and it felt like it was meant for me. So I was just thankful that I got a chance to hear all of that information. How did you actually meet Jared, though? I didn't get a chance.
Jared actually, I love Jared's spirit. It's amazing. But Jared reached out to me social media months ago, earlier in the year, and sent me a friend request. I was like, Lord, who is this? And then when he messaged me, he was just like, I want to work with you. I want to collab together. I've been watching your entrepreneurial journey, and I want to see if you're interested or just being a part of the conference. So he was like, I got more details coming. He called me. I was on a business trip. He called me. We talked about it, and then we planned it from there.
Yeah, it was big, man. What would you say was like your biggest takeaway from, the success? We're going to get into your story, but I just want to kind of still reflecting on it. Like, what would you say was like your biggest takeaway from like overall the event, something that you learned or that you just took away from it?
I would say my biggest take from the conference would be to always remain teachable. Always remain teachable, remain coachable, always be true to yourself. Know your lane, stay in it, thrive in your lane, and be open to taking feedback, good, bad, indifferent, and always just remember who you are and why you started.
Absolutely. And I think the next event that he have in the area, people would definitely want to tune in and come to the event because it was, like I said, it was a special event. And I was nervous for him just as much as he was nervous his own self. I was like,
really?
Man, everything is going to turn out well. And like you said, the people that were there were meant to be there.
Absolutely.
So it was just a perfect time, and it was overall just a great event. So shout out to Jared for putting that event together for everybody.
Most definitely.
So just want to get into your story now. Who would you say, you say you own Soaring Heights Financial Services, you are the founders, but overall, like, who is Brittney White? How would you describe yourself?
Goodness. Now, everybody who know me know I don't like to talk about myself. I am not that person. I would say Brittney White is a resilient person, which is why amongst Soaring Heights, I have a shoe company, shoe brand called Jabali, right? Mm-hmm. And with Jabali, is Swahili for it means a person who is reasonable and the person who takes the lead and is grounded, which I feel like that's me. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm very well grounded, very well balanced. I'm a Libra, by the way. Okay. So I'm very well balanced, pretty much a go-getter, ambitious. I come from humble beginnings. I wasn't fed with a silver spoon off a silver platter. Both my parents, great parents, they did what they could. However, I knew there was better and more for me growing up. I love numbers. So because I love numbers, that's why I started getting into math and as well as accounting, as well as budgeting, financial, all that good stuff that pretty much surface the world. The world run off numbers. Mm-hmm. So if I can contribute in any way, that's pretty much what I decided to do. My father's just like me. We can look at an equation and solve it just like that. And because of that, I decided to start Soaring Heights Financial Services. I started the company 2006. I just started dibbing and dabbing a little bit. And it's just been established since then. So I would say for me, I'm just a go-getter, ambitious woman, very hungry, a person who believes in giving opportunity, mm-hmm. a person who believes in taking risk. Just grounded and balanced.
And I know you said earlier before we started interview, you're originally from Augusta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Talk about a little bit about your early childhood and like what was it like growing up?
I mean, in the midst of Augusta, I lived in a couple different areas, two in the surrounding areas. Mm-hmm. My childhood was pretty dope, Mm-hmm. Like I said, my parents were good parents. I have two brothers. I'm the only girl and the baby. I'm not gonna say I was spoiled, just well taken care of. Me and my dad, that's my baby. I love him with my whole heart. My mom, she had more like my sister. But for the most part, for my growing up, it was pretty good. I have a lot of life lessons. Because I was a daddy's girl, I learned how to be a provider, protector, nurturer, mm-hmm. Caterer. And because of that, it just kind of set me up for life. I understand that, you can't always get your way. You got to grind your way through and push your way through. So with my upbringing, like I said, it wasn't a bad upbringing, just some things that transpired in my life that pushed me to better.
Mm-hmm. How would you say, I know you say you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth, but did you come from a family of entrepreneurs or did they work traditional 9 to 5s?
My family worked traditional 9 to 5s. However, I have family members who were. I have an aunt, who's a seamstress. My dad, he's into baking cakes and cooking, okay. In the restaurant industry. I have, my mom, she's very creative. She makes different kind of stuff. I don't know how she come up with it. It come out the air, I guess. I just have some family members who's good at crafting. I have another aunt who's good at crafting. So everybody has something to bring to the table in different ways. So just watching my aunt make pageant dresses for me and my dad, just get into the kitchen and start cooking and, selling cakes and baking cakes. My mom, being creative with her own business, kind of just set it up for me to want to get into it too.
Did you have any, I know you say you were a daddy's girl, but did you have any kind of mentors or anybody that you look towards as like something like I get pretty much a mentor, but like somebody that you idolized or something that you said when you saw it, like, that's what I want to be when I grow up?
Well, my idol's going to be God. That's what it's going to be. My idol is God. I don't idolize people because people can fail you. However, when it comes down to people I watched, I would definitely say I've watched videos, inspirational videos, videos that would influence me for better. To be honest, at one point in my life, I probably lived a little reckless, a little bit, behind the scenes. Sorry, mom, sorry, dad. Just found that out. But, I did a whole lot of things in life that I wouldn't say I'm proud of back then, but I'm proud of I did it now because it made me to who I am. But in regards to like a influencer or somebody who I watched to help me grow up and mature in those areas, I would definitely say God first. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I'm just big on my dad. My dad just really, set the foundation for me when it came down to just knowing how to be a better person. He would always just instill good morals and values into me.
Mm-hmm. So in between, high school and kind of graduating from high school, like, did you already know kind of what you wanted to like be growing up, or did you kind of like?
No, I wanted to be a lawyer. Okay. I wanted to be a civil rights attorney. I wanted to fight for my people. That was me, I wanted to be a civil rights attorney. But I also knew that I was good at creativity. I also knew that when I was younger, I used to draw out, because my aunt is a seamstress and she make dresses and stuff. My mom's creative. I used to actually have a book. I'm not such a great artist, but I can draw. I used to draw out basically evening gowns. I used to want to have my own evening gown brand or whatever when I was younger. So I used to draw out like gowns or whatever, and basically say one day I'm gonna have my own evening gown line. It's gonna be my line, Brittany Renee. That was me. But then eventually I was like, I'm gonna be a civil rights attorney. I believe in equality and justice and just being for the people and just making sure. And then watching so many stories on the news, happen from back then up to now, empowers me now. I'm still thinking about going back to school to be a lawyer. So for me, I didn't know at first I wanted to be an attorney, but then I also knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that, working for somebody else is fine. I don't take it away from nobody. That's how you get it, it's how you get it. However, for me, I knew that I had enough zeal and willpower myself and I know I had the brain and the knowledge and the wisdom to work for myself. So I would say that's the reason why.
So what did you go to school at after?
I was in Augusta State, pretty much Augusta Tech as well. So pretty much Virginia College, all that down in Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You say you were into numbers growing up, and then of course now you have a financial services business. Mm-hmm. Did you notice any kind of like financial issues like growing up or anything like that kind of push you towards getting into the financial services?
My mom, my mom used to have me trying to figure out numbers for her when we was younger. She was like, she's not that good in math. So she was like, can you figure this out for me? Or how do you add this up? I got the payroll in me. Help me figure this out. So I was like, let me figure it out. Give me your paperwork. And I remember being younger, just like, okay, let me figure out how I can help my mom with her business. Let me figure out how I can help her, gain momentum and gain, put together a strategy to help her grow in her business. So when I saw that and she gave me the first couple papers, I was like, I can do this. So that's how I started, really.
When you talk a little about finances, it's such a sensitive topic, especially with our people. We get real tight.
Real fidgety about that.
Real tight about it. Why do you think finances is an important subject, but why do you think it's such a sensitive topic?
The lack of knowledge. I think our culture, whether it's, any person of color with a little melanin in his skin, I feel like the lack of knowledge. I think a lot of things are generational, to be honest. I'll have this conversation all the time. I'm pretty sure people tired of me talking about it. I feel like, prior to the millennials, you have your parents or your grandparents who could be the silent generation. You have, when they were silent, they ain't talking about nothing. No traumas, no triggers, no nothing. Right. They weren't talking about nothing. And then you have your parents who pretty much like they just want to grind, just work hard. They didn't really care too much about the tools, just more so of working. We have the generation after us. I guess the Generation Z, I don't know what it's called. However, some part of the alphabet. But they just a little more, they have a lot of access to technology, right? Mm-hmm. For us, I always say our generation is the bridge. Because our parents' generation, they didn't have the resources and the tools. I feel like now the generation after us got all the technology and the tools. So I feel like for us, we're the bonding for it all. So for me, I just feel like at the end of the day, we matter. I'm not going to say we matter the most, but I feel like we matter when it comes to turning the tables of finances. We have tools, we have outlets, we have resources, we have books. A lot of us are willing to read more. Oh, I remember this saying that talks about, put something in a book, and I guess you'll never teach a black man or a black woman something if you put it in a book. If you put it in a book, like I love to read, but in my reading, it's more informative, not the lovey-dovey stuff. I'm
the same.
I want to learn about finances and how to be a better woman and how to mature mentally and get myself together. So yeah, I would say the lack of knowledge, the lack of tools, lack of resources, and yeah, I would definitely say those would be the 3 reasons.
Would you say it's a myth around finances that we need to break? That I guess maybe like people would say things like, don't use credit cards, or credit cards are not good for you, just pay everything in cash, or is there any kind of myth around like money and finances?
I mean, everybody has their preferences. I'm gonna be honest. I don't believe in debt. But, we live in a world that, you buy stuff, you got to choose your battle. Either you got good credit, or you got bad credit, or you got fair credit, or even with business credit, you got to pick and choose your battles. I don't believe in debt. Personally, I try to either, of course, pay with cash, but build my personal credit. When it comes to credit cards, I'm not a fan of credit cards myself personally, just because my thought process, if I gotta buy it on credit, I don't need it.
Right.
That's me. I can't speak for everybody else. Or I'm gonna grind and get it to make sure I don't need. It just depends on your preference. I would say one cliche statement that some people make so much of is more money, more problems. I don't like that. I don't like it because I feel like if you have more money and you invest it the right way, you won't have problems. I feel like if you have more money and you budget the right way, you won't have problems. I feel like if you have more money and you know how to invest your money the correct way, you won't have problems. Now, you might have problems internally, whether it be mental health or, anything else outside of financial. And then the saying, like, scared money don't make money, what does that mean? What exactly does that mean? Like, for me, like, maybe they're not scared. Maybe they're unequipped. Maybe they have a lack of knowledge. So I think those cliches, those are the two things I don't really agree with, just because you have to be mindful of your spending habits. But you have to be taught that. And I do believe that a lot of people aren't taught about credit. I really wish, got a book over there, why don't they teach me this in school? Talks about
a lot they don't teach us.
Listen, but listen, they don't talk about a lot of things in school. But finances is one I wish they talked about in school. Credit, like how are you? Okay, I remember being in school, right? They taught probably third grade, maybe. They taught us like on a mock paper of how to write out checks. But did you teach me any background of the check? Like, did you teach me how to manage the money before I write the check? Did you teach me, like, the credit part? Like, why even tell me to write checks?
Exactly.
Like, you could teach somebody to write checks and they bounce. Like, teach people good spending habits. Teach them how to manage their money, how to budget their money, how to invest their money. Like, that's the part that matters. And that's the part, if God bless me with children, that I want to be able to instill in my kids. Like, look, I understand that you want to be like everybody else. But in order to be a better person, credit is great. Credit, you can buy a whole lot of different things. You can leverage in life. You can, elevate and level up in life. But my thing is, shouldn't you want to have some kind of capital, some kind of money? You want to make sure your money's right. I have this thing now I'm considering about the whole bank situation. I don't have to like banks no more. I thought they steal your money. I thought they steal your money. I feel like if you don't know how to invest your money, I feel like they'll tell you anything. So that's why it's very important to read and to gain an understanding and be able to comprehend, read the fine lines, the fine print, So that's my take on that.
Yeah, I remember it was maybe like a year or two ago. I remember I keep money in my savings just stashed away. And I was talking to the lady about a credit card or a loan or something. And I was like, I said, I got the money right now to just pay this loan all the way off. And she was like, no, don't do that. She said, because the banks, they want to show on your credit, they want to show that you're able to, sustain and able to make payments. But I'm like, man, I got the cash. I'm just ready to, like I said, I'm pretty much the same way with you. It's like debt. I don't like having debt. I like to if I got the money, I like to just pay it off and just get it over with. But the lady, she was like, just keep on making the payments on it or whatever. And
it shows great payment history.
Yeah,
it shows that you're reliable, that you are dependable when it comes to paying it back. And that's why I said it's nothing wrong with that. People try to let me tell you, people try to always tell the next person how to run their money, how to run their household. Let me tell you something. Me and you can live on the same block, next door to each other. Same square feet for the house. Same size yard, same cars. The next person across the street would automatically assume we work at the same place because we got the same things. But we could work at two different locations. I could not work, but could have received the inheritance. I could not work and just have good investments.
That's true. Yeah.
You could be out here busting your hump, tired every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're going to be tired every day. But people automatically assume because we do the same type of stuff or live in the same neighborhood that we do the same exact thing. But that's not always true. People try to always compare and compete, but it's not about comparing and competing. It's about being able to empower each other to say, hey, Carlos, look, I got $100,000. Can you show me what to do with it? Either you do or you don't. But it's okay with asking. It's too much pride, I think, in our culture when it comes to finances.
That's true.
Don't nobody want to ask questions. But what's wrong with asking questions? Because for me, like, I'm going to tell you, I have consultations. My consultation turned into a whole appointment. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to do a whole rundown. And my clients can attest to that. Like, it might be a 40-minute consultation, but we're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff. Because I need you to be educated. Because for me, it's not about $1. Because as long as I'm doing my part, the money going to come.
I think it's also important to ask people, you know, I guess who has something, you know. It's hard to ask somebody who doesn't have this type of money or who's never been in that situation to know how to invest their money, anything like that. It's right to go to the right people who've been there before, who've learned these things over time, instead of just asking somebody that you kind of like grew up with or somebody that don't know anything about finances at all. Like you said, our parents pretty much, well, mine, I can speak for my parents, like they basically they was almost like they would just raise us to survive, really, just work to pay the bills and everything, and they done a great job. And now they're way more stable now. They doing very well. But it's like, you know, at times, if you don't have those people that know anything really about finances, like you said, in our community, we don't really like to talk about it. And then sometimes the people who do have it, you know, our people, they don't. It's like they're saying like they don't want to see you doing better than them. But you always have to, like you said, empower your people. But it's important, you know, ask the right people to get that information. Yeah,
keep your circle open when it comes to entrepreneurship. I think too, and even if you're not an entrepreneur, like always keep. I'm gonna tell you this: keep your boundaries strong, but keep your mindset soft. When I say that, I mean like when it comes to a way of thinking, if you have up these boundaries, these strong walls and guardrails around your mind, it's hard to let anything healthy in. So you have to be open and willing to be teachable. I think too many of us, you know, people in general, are stuck on only taking advice from certain people. But you have to keep your circle and your options open when it comes to learning. You can learn from a stranger. Like, I done been out here feeding the homeless or just walking somewhere down the street, and I'm one of the ones who don't mind talking to anybody. And I just feel like, you know, if they're going to hurt me, we're going to have to fight. You have to fight. I mean, we're going to put these hands up. But, you know, for me, you got to be able to, I'm going to tell you something. Some of these people out here who are homeless aren't people who just on drugs. They just might have fell on hard times. They could have been a millionaire, but something happened. They could have had mental health issues, but never was treated. They could have lost everything from the stock market. Like, you just never know what happened. Yeah. So you can learn from different kind of people. It doesn't matter. But people look at clothes, skin color, outer appearance, where they come from, who they cool with. Like, I'm not gonna not talk to you because you cool with somebody else. I'm not cool. Like, that don't matter to me. Weird, that's weird. That's embarrassing, and that's childish behavior. Because at some point we have to mature. We have to grow up. We got to be open to the possibilities of elevation. But if you never take the chance by being open and having a softer mindset when it comes to getting to knowing people, you're going to always stay stagnated and complacent.
Absolutely. And just like you said, talking about, you know, judging people by what they wear and all this type of stuff, it made me think about, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago when that topic of those little Nike shoes that was going online, and people were saying, like, you know, I ain't going to wear these and this and that. But it's like, man, that stuff don't even matter.
Because my thing is, at the end of the day, I like comfort.
Exactly.
Truthfully speaking, I wear Yeezys, but it's for comfort. It's for comfort. But at the end of the day, if you come in and you got on some throwback Sauconys or some K-Swiss or some New Balance or whatever, you might be a millionaire. Because some people just have their preferences. Mm-hmm. Some people just like comfortability. Like everybody, what's comfortable for me could not be comfortable for you, and that's okay. I feel like a lot of people try to flex a lot to look good and feel good.
Mainly our people. I love our people, but I feel like we really have that, especially if we never had anything and then we finally get some money or something. Like you see with celebrities all the time. It's like,
and ain't nothing wrong with it's nothing wrong with having nice things,
right?
Because I like nice things. That's just what I like. Mm-hmm. However, in the midst of having nice things, make sure your lifestyle, your heart, and your future add up. You can't, I personally feel like you can't invest so much in all this jewelry. This is just my opinion, so don't beat me up. But you can't, I feel like it's irrelevant to have all these VVS's and, this Cartier and all this, but then you haven't set your future up. Or your kids don't have certain knowledge, or your kids don't have, or your parents or whomever that you may be taking care of don't have. Like, it's all about prioritizing what's healthy and what's best. And for me, the past is gone, but the future, like, that's something that you can plan for. You can't take back what happened in the past, but you got to be able to invest in your future and your kids' future. Like, you got to build a generational wealth system. You got to build a lineage for your family that's healthy. You got to build, you got to cultivate your DNA. You got to say, hey, look, I got to break some generational curses and some generational issues in my family. And if you're the first one in your family to level up, then you're the one who's setting and turn the stone and turn the leaf. So set it up for them.
Absolutely. I want to ask you about something else about finances. How were you as far as growing up? I know you said you had to help your mother with numbers and everything. Like, how were you in terms of dealing with your finances in the past when you first starting out?
I'm a budgeter. I don't care. I'm gonna tell you, I don't care how much money I got or at what level I'm at now. Even back then, I've always been good at. My dad used to always say, "I know you got money. I know you got money," because I'm just one of those people where I'm not a flashy person. Right. I'm super laid back, very cool, calm, and collect. But it's because I do believe in you can get it and it can be gone. But the key is, if it goes away, I know how to get it back because I understand the lessons and how to get it the legal way. So for me, I'm a budgeter. Even from then, I've been doing this probably this has been 16 years. For about 10 years, every December before the next year, sometimes November, I literally write down every single bill that I have. And I write down every single month in the year. And if I'm working a 9 to 5 at that time, I write down the paydays. I get paid. And I write down on the other side, on another list, the due dates of my bills. And to make sure I pay them on time, to keep my credit good and established, I would link the due dates up with the paycheck before it's due. Mm-hmm. So that I never miss a payment, which builds credit worthiness. So to this day, even if it's not getting paid every 2 weeks or if it's salary, whatever, I still do it. Every year, November, December, I sit down, write down every single, and I know my bills, but I do it anyway. It's a habit. Mm-hmm. It's a healthy habit. I write down my bills that I have, any added bills, and that's for businesses, and this is for personal. But I sit down, I write these things down, right? And I put down what I'm willing to spend for the year on everything, miscellaneous stuff. I want to go out and buy me something real nice and fancy, flashy. I'm going to do that. But I learned how to budget is the main thing. I feel like for me, I've learned how to budget, which has created good credit, but also you save more money that way. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a budget, I feel like you end up spending money carelessly.
Yeah. I remember, I told the story before, man. I was just blowing money in my younger days. In college, the most money I ever had at one time was maybe $3,000 or $4,000, and that came from a refund check. Mm-hmm. So, getting that type of money, and I'm like 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. I never had that type of money
like
before.
You out here balling, you hear me?
That's it. I felt like it was tax season.
Listen.
I remember going, I posted this picture a while back, a couple months back when my best friend Ricky got married, and just posted one of the pictures when we went to bike week and we had on these chains, and I bought a yellow chain and I bought a white diamond chain. Spent like $200 on each one of them.
Oh, you was fly.
Yeah, just thought just throwing away money though, man. It was just like, man, I never had this type of money before, and like knowing what I know now, I was like, man, I wouldn't even waste money on this type of stuff. But it's just like one of those things when not knowing and just feeling like I had something, like I just wanted to blow that type of money. But like I say, you learn those lessons, as you get older, how to budget your money. Because now, like, man, if I get that type of money now, at one time, I can easily budget that money and make the money stretch and do what I have to do with it. But back then, I was horrible. Like, we going in the club, we don't go in we go in the skip line, we paying $50, $40 to go in the skip line, like buying drink, everything, man. It was just like, I didn't understand the importance of finances because I was just thinking about living in that moment right then and not thinking like long term, like to set myself up for the future.
You're young. When you're younger, you just kind of live life just free. You ain't think about nothing. And if you ain't got no bills, you definitely ain't thinking about
no
nothing.
Kids, nothing.
No kids, no nothing. So you ain't just living the dream, It happens, but I do believe in the midst of being young, had it not have happened when you were younger, you wouldn't know better now.
Right.
So I would say it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. We had a good time in Upstate. We had a lot of good time. I'm going to ask you, though, what other type of job? Did you work any other kind of traditional 9-to-5 jobs before, becoming a full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah, I worked in telecommunication services, a supervisor. I've worked, really, that's it. I did a lot of things when it comes to helping somebody else with their businesses. But it's always been pretty much the entrepreneurship on the front end. Mm-hmm.
What kind of skills would you say you took away from, those previous jobs that helped you in entrepreneurship?
I would say I took away from those things would be how to manage. When I say manage, I mean being able to manage my people. I have 6 employees right now. If I never learned how to manage, I could definitely not deal with people. I would say that. I'm very detail oriented. I learned how to be very detail oriented from those type of jobs. It's taught me how to pay attention to things said and unsaid. Yep. It's taught me how to make myself more available because I had to be flexible. So it teach me to always be open to being available and being on call. I remember meeting a friend not too long ago, and one thing they said was so profound, and I think about it daily now, which was, even with this business, I have certain hours of operations because I balance out, a couple businesses. And one thing they said was they felt like they were more productive when they didn't have a boundary cutoff time to close. But as soon as they decided to tell clients, I can't take you right now because I'm closed, they felt they slowed down a little bit in business. I think that was amazing, yo. I was like, you know what? I think I was on fire when I didn't have like a cutoff time. I would take clients at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, just because I was hungry, just because I love helping people. So I think what I learned from those previous, places of employment was to keep a zeal. Be open, be flexible, consider your mental health. A lot of times working for other people, you become drained because, you want to satisfy and you want to keep your job. Right. But I've learned how to, what is called PTO, prepare to others. I've learned how to take time for myself. That's important. It's very important. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, mental health is a thing that I think people oftentimes overlook. Whether it be, whether it's anxiety, depression, whether it be simple as being frustrated, whether it's anything else that's diagnosed. So from those things, I think that I've learned how to slow down when I'm tired. I've just learned from those experiences from working with other people how to take care of Brittney, mind, body, and spirit, how to be teachable, coachable, flexible, being open and available to just being detail oriented.
You said something earlier not too long ago about working at another job and helping by somebody else build their own business. Like, what was that feeling like knowing that you were punching in, working for somebody else? Yet you're grateful to have a job, but like, what was that feeling like for you, knowing that you're making a living, but at the same time you're building something for somebody else's family?
It made me hungry. It made me hungrier. A lot of people, I don't want to say complain. A lot of people, they downplay, or people downplay and complain, just to say it, about having to work for someone else. But I feel like as an entrepreneur, you have to be prepared some kind of way. Even with food, you got to prep the food before you cook it. So for me, those things prep me for where I'm at today. I didn't want to just be the bare minimum. I don't believe in bare minimum mentality. I learn what I need to learn. I gain what I need to gain. Was it times I quit? Yes, but I quit every day in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I do, but I come back at it because it's mine, But at the end of the day, I feel like for me, I feel like it prepared me. I love what I do. Like, I love my businesses. That's why it's so easy for me to get up and make it do what it do. Even when I'm off, when I'm closed, I'm still working. It's because I love what I do. But I would never love what I do had I not been prepared or prepped to deal with certain situations in business. So work for somebody else, I knew that I didn't want to do the bare minimum. So I would say, I'm going for the next promotion. So whatever it took to get to the next promotion, I did it. Then to the next promotion. Then to the next promotion. It's from going from hourly to salary. From working for somebody else to making $75,000 a year. Clocking in. I was like, well, hell, if I can make $75,000 a year, clocking in for somebody else, and not even having to use my degree, but using my skill set, then clearly I can take everything that I've learned in this job and come flip that and put it into my own.
Absolutely. It's so when you talk about working for somebody else, I always say it's a blessing and a lesson in everything that you do. And just driving up here, I actually drove by the radio station. I used to work right over here at Intercom radio station.
Oh, really?
Like back in 2016. Had graduated. I've been out of college for like 2 years, and like I said, I drove an hour to work. I told this before as well, but just seeing that station over there, it just brought back memories. I used to drive an hour to work. I would get up at sometimes 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning just to drive up here to produce radio shows.
Oh, wow.
But I used that opportunity. Like I said, I made $10 an hour, and by the time I got paid from there, I still had my other part-time job as well, but by the time I got paid from there, I broke even or I was in the hole, but it taught me everything about, producing a show. So I took that experience from there and turned you to use what I'm doing now. But I needed that experience. Like, it wasn't even about the money, because most people, if they have to drive an hour to work for $10 an hour,
it's not happening.
It ain't gonna happen. Exactly.
It's not happening.
It's over with. But I was just, hungry for the opportunity, and I needed that. So I was, like I said, I was thankful for it. But at the same time, I knew I wouldn't be able to sustain over time, but it served its purpose in that moment. I want to ask you something. Now, we spoke about it at the Success is My Prey conference, and we had everybody. I know we had like a little time limit, and everybody had to share turns. But now that you have the floor to yourself, I want to ask you again, because this is a topic that's really sensitive. A lot of people go through this. I see it all the time on social media when having a job. But when do you know it's time to jump?
When you're tired, when you're mentally, emotionally, physically tired. Just like anything in life, when you've had enough of something. When you know that you've envisioned yourself doing more and you have a hard time going in, and like I said then at the conference, when you got an attitude every day and you calling out every other Friday, every other Tuesday, every other Wednesday, which means you only working 4 days a week. It's time to go. Yeah. I would say, it's time to jump or time to go when you just feel like you've had enough. Like, you can't focus. Your thoughts are on being at home, or your thoughts are on building your own business. I would say it's time to jump when you feel as if every day is a struggle to come to work.
Mm-hmm.
When it becomes a struggle and you hate your job and you don't want to be there and you leaving early every day or calling out every day, it's time to go. It's time to find something that's for you. And I think the thing is people fear change. They fear change because of the unknown. They don't know what's next. But when my circle of friends and partnerships and relationships that I have, I'm big on pouring into them to help them find what they're good at. I think when you're tired, you'll know. But I think it's best that you understand your purpose. And when you understand your purpose, you can move on.
And I asked you that question, too, because I just had this conversation like 2-3 days ago with my cousin. I stopped by to see him, and I was telling me and him was supposed to work on something. Well, we going to work on something together. And he's a chef, and he works with two really good companies, but he was telling me, hey, man, he said, I'm getting to a point now, man, where he's like, yeah, I'm going in cooking for them and making these nice meals. But he's like, man, I'm up at night now, like thinking about like what's for me. He's like, I want to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling him, man, like you gotta, do what you gotta do what's best for you. At the same time, these jobs gonna always be here. Like you can always go back and get another job.
Absolutely.
But bet on yourself, like, because if you don't, man, you gonna end up regretting not taking the opportunity. Because he told me he had an opportunity and to go to Dallas to be a cook out there, and he passed up on the opportunity at the time. And he's like, man, sometimes I'm thinking, should I have taken that chance of went out there? I'm like, man, I mean, weigh your options, but at the same time, you still got to do what's best for you because like, at the end of the day, man,
absolutely,
you don't want to look back saying like, what if I would have took this chance? Like,
or I should have.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, man, you gotta figure it out. It's tough, like you said. It's that fear, fear of change. You staying in that comfort zone, which is the worst thing. And it's crazy. Even when I give people advice, like I always say, it's funny for me. It's like when I give people advice about taking a chance and investing in yourself. I always feel like I'm talking to myself as well. Like, man, I'm doing all of this, but for me, I'm thankful for the job that I have. But it's getting to a point with me where I know I'm gonna have to like let it go eventually because of now, like doing what I'm doing now on the road, traveling, shooting interviews. Like my schedule is getting so tight, it's hard for me to be.
But that's purpose, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's purpose in that, though. And I ain't mean to cut you off, but that's purpose in that because I feel like at the end of the day, if it wasn't meant for you to do what you do, God wouldn't supply the resources, the opportunities, and the schedule that you have. People who are put in position to walk in their purpose, they walk into opportunities they didn't look for. Like, you doing your thing with the Charlotte Hornets and you doing your thing with Cross the Line podcast. Like, your schedule is full because you're walking in your purpose. Now, you could be busy doing nothing, but you're not.
Right.
You're busy making an impact. You're busy with walking in your purpose because what you went to school for, and then also idea, which is, this, what you're doing now. Like, you're operating in your purpose. And we have several purposes. I think people think it's just one purpose in life. But I'm a strong believer that we're put on this earth to fulfill so many purposes. And then once we're completed with those purposes, that's when we die. But that's a whole other kind of conversation. But I'm just being honest. So for me, I feel like you're walking in your purpose. And because you're walking in your purpose, the need will be supplied. You won't lack for nothing because you're walking in your purpose.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. Like I always felt like, when I was spoke, because this is actually my second go around with the Hornets. I did it my senior year at Upstate, and I covered the Hornets, I covered the Panthers, NASCAR. I did a lot of sporting events, and like I tell people, I think one of the best things that happened for me was, after I graduated, I thought that I was going to literally just be able to go straight to ESPN or Fox Sports, and I think had that happened, it would have been a possibility that I would have got comfortable there, and you working for one of these big time companies like that, people tell you, man, you working for one of the best companies. You can just stay here and you good, you set. And I think had that happened to me, like I'd have been like, over time, I'd been afraid to walk away from one of those big companies because it is ESPN.
You're at the tippy top already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, when I graduated, the job opportunity didn't fall in my lap, and it hurt being rejected because it made me at times feel like, am I even worth getting this opportunity? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, how come I'm not getting this opportunity? And but it's been one of the best things for me. And now going back full circle, 8 years later, I'm still sitting in the same space with these same people that work for Sports Illustrated or ESPN or Fox or Charlotte Observer. So when I'm having conversation with them now, they're like, "Who do you work for?" And I tell them like, "I work for myself." I've been here before, but this time around, like nobody gave me opportunity, so I had to create my own.
Right.
That's and it was a blessing that it happened that way because now I appreciate it even more than before. Like I don't have anybody handing me anything. Like I built this from the ground up, and I'm just like, I started everything that I had with just a laptop. Like I said, I sat in my dad's storage building in the backyard with one laptop, and I just recorded myself talking. Recorded my first episode by myself just for like 15 to 17 minutes. And I didn't like the way I sounded. I was discouraged, but then I just kept on going. And then I just started, interviewing local entrepreneurs in our area. And like I said, at the conference, when I spoke to Ben, it just that conversation just changed my life. So I went from local entrepreneurs to traveling across the country on my own platform, and now back to covering the Hornets again. So it's like everything in life happens for a reason. Like you said, it's just about having purpose. Because I don't believe, to me, I always tell people, I feel like God didn't just show me that what's possible, like just to show me the Hornets, and then it's an 8-year hiatus, and he just showed me that for no reason. I feel like it was a reason for me to go through that.
Absolutely.
And then, having to create my own opportunity. Like everything in life happens for a reason.
It's a platform, whether you believe it or not, it's a platform to help you level up on your own business. You'll be surprised. I feel like maybe and it could be a possibility. Sometimes we have to go through growth spurts. Sometimes we have to mature in some areas and grow in some areas. And then once we grow in those areas and mature in those areas, it's a full circle. We come back to it bigger, better, and established. And then now this time around, you got your own business, which means that you never know who you can come in contact with that's going to help you level up with Cross the Line Podcast. Like, so everything happens for a reason and for a purpose. And when I hear, like, it's crazy because all day today, I've been just thinking about, like, been hitting my spirit, like, be anxious for nothing. So I've been hearing my spirit all day. Be anxious for nothing. Be anxious for nothing. I was like, okay, God, all right, I'm going to be anxious. I'm chilling. But because of that, I believe, like, we don't have to worry. A lot of times we worry because we don't know what's next. But we don't have to worry or be anxious for nothing because I feel like everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. And you don't have to worry about how you're going to get there because even if you don't know the way, God has already made a way. That's my thought process. Like, I don't care what it is in life. We worry about things when it's already sorted out. The plan is already there. Like, I'm big on understanding your purpose in life because whether you have a temper tantrum, you mad, you fussing, you upset, what good is it going to do if the plan is already made for you?
Absolutely.
You got to have confidence in that.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, so when you finally took that leap of faith and you jumped, like, how was that transition for you in the beginning from, working the 9 to 5 to becoming a full-time entrepreneur? Like, how was your transition?
Easy. I'm very self-aware. My friends be tired of me because I be like, I'm just woke. They're like, girl, you just think you woke. I am. I just know my purpose. I know that I have some purposes out here. And I just know, don't get me wrong now. I don't mind working 9 to 5. I don't mind if I got to get out there and get it, I'm going to get it. But for me, I just know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. And that's the most humblest way I can say it. I know who I am and I'm okay and I'm secure with that. So when it was time, I just did what I had to do.
What are some things you say, some skill sets or some traits that one must possess to be an entrepreneur?
Patience. You gotta have patience. Resilience. Being, again, teachable. I say all the time, being teachable. I would say being a person who has grace you have to have grace. You have to give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to be a beginner. I feel like oftentimes people hop off the porch too soon because of what looks good, what feels good, what sounds good, and what everybody else is doing. But your path is your path for a reason. You have to give yourself the grace. Give yourself permission to start. Not be in the game so fast. Because with entrepreneurship, you have to go through rebranding a couple different times, if that's your choice. You have to go through some changes in your finances. If you're going to hire people, you got to go through that. Like, there's always shifts in entrepreneurship. But you got to be resilient. You got to have a great sense of tenacity. You got to be able to understand that it's going to be some times where for months you might be making a high amount, and some other months you might not make no money at all. Like, you have to understand, like, the balance of entrepreneurship and be able to enjoy what you do. So I would say, having grace, giving yourself grace, give yourself permission to grow, give yourself permission to accept change. I would say being hungry, of course, being somebody who's ambitious and a go-getter. I would also just say, allowing yourself the opportunity to grow, to evolve, and to be a beginner.
When you made the transition to become an entrepreneur, did your family fully understand like what you were trying to do?
I'm not a talker. I don't really tell too much. I'm not secretive. I'm just private. The people that need to know knew. My family is very supportive. Like my dad, he's whatever makes you happy, baby girl. It's gonna be that, or it's gonna be I believe in you. My mom, she's gonna go wherever I want to do. She's like, "You want to do it?" But that's pretty much all I told. My friends, I probably told a few, but I'm one that believes in just doing, taking the action versus talking. I don't believe in letting everybody in your business because that's how you get discouraged sometimes. Because you may be hoping for one response, they give another response, then now you're discouraged. Yep. So I believe that silent movements are good to start out. Because my thing is, too, what if you tell a lot of people it don't happen? Now you got to go back and tell it didn't happen. So now you got to unravel the disappointment and deal with rejection and deal with feeling like you're not good enough. And trust me, as successful as I am, Carlos, I say this all the time. It's probably not a good thing, but I've dealt with imposter syndrome for a long time, where I felt like no matter how great I am, I still have some things I want to accomplish. I'm not accomplished enough. But that's when I've surrounded myself around books and self-development. Reading this book now called Authentically, Uniquely You by Joyce Myers. It helps a lot because it helped me identify who I am as a person. I think a lot of times life can make you feel like you're not worthy of certain things. But I feel like at some point we have to change the victim mentality and we have to grow up. We have to, understand that those around us who are meant for us, such as our, if it's your parents or your friends, they're needed. So for me, I would say, I told I told a few people, but it was more so I moved in silence because I wanted to make sure I was making the best decision for me.
I'm pretty much the same way. Like I'm the type, like I'm pretty much reserved. Like I told my friends, of course, but I don't really, say a whole lot. Like I'm the type to just go out there and just do it and make it happen.
Absolutely.
And then while I'm doing them, like here it is. Like y'all check
I done
this
hopped out
out.
the porch.
Yep. Y'all check it out.
Y'all see me. That's what I'm like.
My parents, they've always been supportive. They pretty much, like I said, they would just talk to survive. So they just pretty much want us to, they pretty much want us to like do what's best for us, take care of ourselves, take care of our kids and everything like that. But I don't think they fully knew what I was doing at the beginning, as far as like, traveling, doing interviews. And then I put together when I wrote my first book, and then I had my book signing last year, and then they came. Thank you. And then I got up there and I got emotional. I started crying at my book signing. Then I felt like they kind of finally understood, okay, now he has his own purpose of what he wants to do in life. Even going back to the Hornets again, like I didn't tell anybody until like it finally, I got confirmation that it was going to actually happen. I was, reaching out to them and trying to get in contact with them. And then when it finally happened, that's when I finally, put it out there. But as far as like, just saying what I'm going to do or whatever, like I write down my goals and I read that every single day, what I want to do. But
you better affirm yourself
all the time.
I know that's right, but affirm yourself
all the time. And this the one thing that I tell people. I tell people it's so important to write down your goals. I know a lot of people don't, but for me, I always write down my goals and I'm always working towards them. So once I look at them, okay, this is where I'm trying to go. This is what I'm trying to do.
That's right.
And every morning I get up, I write down everything that I'm thankful for, and at the bottom of my paper, every single day, I write down, I will travel the world interviewing the greatest minds and inspire millions of people.
I love that.
So I write that down every single day. So like now that when I travel to these different places, I'm like, man, I'm interviewing all of these different people.
Look at you manifesting.
Yeah. So that's why I tell people it's so important to write down your goals and see where you're trying to go. And because if not, man, it's like you don't have anything to work towards. You don't see where you're trying to go.
That's real.
So I always stress the importance of that. And like I said, I'm always the type, I don't like to talk about what I'm doing. I just like to make it happen. But I do, write down my goals to show myself like where I'm trying to go. And even once I accomplish things, like now I feel like, sometimes I still feel like I'm not pushing myself hard enough. Like, man, it's like, man, I still need to keep, because Ben would always tell me, say, man, dream big. If your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough.
Woo, listen.
So I'm always like, now when I'm accomplishing these things, even with the Hornets, I'm thankful, but I still like, man, now that I'm here, like, what's next? Like,
what's next?
I feel like I can still stretch myself and do so much more, but it's still important to, like you said, give yourself grace, be thankful for where you are, but it's still, push yourself and continue chasing your dreams and, like, have a vision
you're hungry.
Where you're trying to go.
That's right. It means you're hungry because you are, or we are, in that place where we want to know what's next. Or we may have these moments where we feel like we're not doing enough or we need to do more. It's because we're hungry. It's because you're ambitious. If you wasn't ambitious or we wasn't ambitious, we wouldn't talk about, what's next. We wouldn't be nervous. And my thing is, I feel like humility is one of those things where I feel like you develop when you can understand that things can happen for you and not happen for you. Being humble is one of the things that my father instilled within me, just because I understand that life happens. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like we're in a recession right now. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like, having one stream of income is too close to broke. So because there's a recession out here, I feel like you gotta find different avenues and different ways to sustain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
To provide for your family, provide for yourself, to make sure you're good. Especially if you're used to a certain amount of money. The market out here is crazy. The stock market crazy. I monitor that often. Housing market is crazy. Numbers are up. Interest is high. But you got to be able to understand, like, you got to be hungry for more. Even if it's passive income. Set yourself up for passive income. Set yourself up for investments with friends. Go down there to the tax office. Go down there to the treasurer's office. Look into foreclosure. Look into getting fourplexes and complexes and duplexes and whatever kind of plex you can see.
Right.
And invest in it. Come together with your friends and invest in that. Just find different avenues to where if life was to happen or hit me hard, can I say I have enough investments to help me sustain?
Absolutely. Yeah, even was last week. It was at Costco, the company that like a little phone kiosk that's inside.
Mm-hmm.
They the guys that work there, even the managers, all those guys, they come to work every day, show them do their job, and then they got a random phone, like a random conference call last week. Sometime told them, and officially at that day, their job was officially over with. So
we're in an at-will state, which means they can fire you for nothing. Just because they want to. South Carolina is an at-will state where basically I don't have to have you here if I don't want you here. My thing is, we always talk about leaving our jobs, but what if our job want us to leave? What you got? You got to put yourself in position to say, I got something. 401k is good, but what about Roth accounts? What about IRAs? What about mutual funds? What about stocks? What about any other place of investments? What about, some people don't believe in it, but I believe in buying property, buying land. Just because land is something we all need around here. I mean, that's what the world is on.
Making more of it.
Listen, you hear me? So, and then for us, property, it may not be someone's story, but I believe with property, I feel like that's a major way to flip your money. Just because at the end of the day, everybody needs somewhere to stay, even if it's not residential, commercial. Business is always growing. I don't care. What's crazy is we're going through a recession that I feel, but there's so many new businesses that's popping up out of nowhere. And I feel like, too, a lot of places are going online. They're going from having retail stores to just having things online. But, I feel like for that, you got to also know where to invest your money. But you got to get a mentor. You got to get a financial advisor, such as myself. You got to get somebody around, get some people around you who can pour into you and don't always be the sprout. Let somebody pour into you too.
I say it's so important. This is the type of information that our community needs. I just had a conversation at work a couple of days ago with this guy at work. He's a junior in college, and he was just telling me, man, when I graduate, my dad, he's gonna give me 3 acres of land just to build on. I'm like, man, look, to have that type of luxury, like a lot of times in our community, like we don't have that luxury or that access to any of that stuff.
You're right.
So it's like it's so important for us, to get that education, like you said, get a financial advisor such as yourself that can help us set ourselves up for the future, just in case, like in these tough times, like now, if something were to happen, like you said, like what do you have? Like do you have anything to fall back on and protect yourself and your family?
That's right.
I want to ask you a few more questions. We'll wrap it up. Like, when for you did you feel like you found your purpose?
2010. 2010. Of course, when I started this business in 2006, I knew. I mean, even then, it wasn't a business; it was a hobby. It's something I enjoyed doing. I just like doing it. I would say I found my purpose when I knew that it became easy for me to do. I feel like anything that's hard, I feel like anything that's forced is not aligned with you anyway. That's just me. Because it was easier for me to do, and I didn't mind doing it, and it didn't feel like work. For this particular business, I knew it was purpose for Brittney. I also knew that I had purpose too because I went through so many different things in my life that I never spoke about, even with my parents or with my friends. And then God started sending, or people start coming around me that needed the lessons from the things that I went through. So that's when I started realizing it was a purpose for me to mentor. I mentor battered women at one time, but I also still mentor young girls from the ages of 13 to 19. Because I went through some things when I was younger that I basically dealt with on my own. I felt like it was important for me to reach back out to them younger girls to teach them how to be ladies and how to be, young adults and how to do things, manage money. Like, if I can teach you how to manage your money at 13, 14, 15, and how to leverage your credit, by the time you are 18, 19, coming out of high school, going to college, if you decide to go to college, you should be good. I believe in affirmations. Affirming ourselves and affirming our children and affirming the younger generation, even affirming our parents, to be honest. So for me, I realized my purpose in a couple different things was based off of things I endured. I feel like there's nothing in this world that we go through does not serve a purpose. It all serves a purpose. Yeah. And if we went through it, then it has to be for a purpose, and somebody else needs us for that purpose.
Absolutely. How do you balance everything? I guess the way to answer this question, because you have so much on your plate with running multiple businesses, being a mentor, do you think it's a such thing as balance?
Yes, I have balance. I've learned balance. I didn't always have balance. I've got fussed at several times by a lot of friends. And my dad, even now, it's funny because my dad always be like, don't be just chasing the dollar. Gotta get your rest. I'm like, oh, Lord. Yeah. I hear you, Daddy. God. I hear you. But I hear him, but I listen. For me, I've been resting a lot lately. I knew that I was tired when my brain couldn't function mentally the way that I knew that I could. I like to do a lot of different things. I'm a pretty down to earth person. I don't mind. I'm real laid back. In business, I'm very dominant. But when I'm not working, I'm super laid back. So for me, I had to find the balance of rest, mental rest, physical rest, emotional rest. Especially considering the fact, wanting to grow. I feel like you can never perform or be at your best when you're tired. You can never fully grow in the capacity you're supposed to grow in if you're tired, because at that point you're worn thin. So I've learned how to create balance with spending time with my family and my friends, enjoying like things I like to do, such as sports and hiking and going to concerts and games, stuff like that. Like, I've learned how to create balance, but that takes discipline. That takes discipline, because it's so easy to fall subject to, when you're ambitious, it's so easy to fall into a place of, I just want to work.
Just tunnel vision.
Vision. And I've been that person to where nothing else really mattered. And I think, I'm be honest, I think a lot of times, a lot of us work so hard and be so stuck in tunnel vision is because we're still in survival mode and because we're using it as a defense mechanism. But I feel like once you understand and dive deep into the rooted issue of why you're still in survival mode and why you're using a defense mechanism, I feel like then you'll find balance.
Absolutely. Like I have times where I struggle with balance. I'll be honest, especially early on, when I first started, it's just, being on the road so much, traveling, shooting interviews. Even now, when I have to go cover the Hornets, my son's here with me right now, but then my daughters, actually, was it yesterday? My baby girl, she had a school play, and it was one of those things. I really wanted to be there, but having to go up the road, it's certain times where it's like certain things where I have to, go take care of business. But kids, they don't really understand those things at the time.
Right.
But I make sure, like, when it's their time, like, no business or anything, just focusing on them. But it's just still, like you said, trying to balance everything out. For me, it's probably one of those things still as an entrepreneur that I still, try to deal with it. That's one of the toughest things for me personally, trying to deal with it, especially with kids.
I think I'm going to say this. I think oftentimes we, as people, we limit the ways we can be there. As in, there's other ways that you can show up and not be present physically. And this is a conversation I have with other entrepreneurs often. When it comes to kids or, your spouse or your mate or whoever you may be with, or even just family and friends, you may not can be physically present. But I'm big into learning those I really care about, their love languages, so that if their love language is words of affirmation, I'm sure I'm going to send text messages of affirmations to them. If their love language is physical touch, I'm going to make sure at some point, I'm going to make sure I set up a date with them or outing with them to make sure I can embrace them or just go to their house and chill with them. If it's, quality time, I'm going to set aside, it may not even be an hour. It could be 45 minutes. Just say, let's sit down and just have a bite to eat. I try to learn the love languages of my loved ones, whether it's children, whether it's my parents, whether it's my brothers or, my entrepreneur friends. Because one thing I don't want to do is ever make and I've heard this, that's why I'm saying this, make my people feel like they have to make an appointment with me.
Right.
Just to spend time with me. And I've heard this. And when they said it, I was like, dog.
Yeah, that's tough right there.
I was like, you know what? Let me check myself.
Right.
Let me sit down with myself and do some self-reflection. And I had to make it a point to say, you know what? You right. I hear you. And because I hear you, I want to do better because I value who you are in my life. So even just to you, Carlos, just giving advice from one person to another, like, be mindful that it's more. Don't feel bad, so much about certain things, because it's other ways to be present than physical. You're out here working. It's not like you out here playing 2K or,
right.
Mad,
Exactly.
You're not like you at the house, with your foot up and you just eating popcorn. You don't want to talk. It's you're out here working because you're trying to establish a better life for you and your family. They may or may not understand it. I can't remember too far back when I was past 5, before 5. But every child is different. Every person is different. So with that being said, don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself grace.
Absolutely. Hey, it's tough, but I think as they get older, and they'll start understanding. But like right now, like I tell them about what's going on. And I show them pictures of the games and interviews and stuff like that, and they think it's cool. But with kids, they just want to be with dad. That's all they want. They want to just run around and jump and play. But like I said, that's still one of the toughest things for me. Like I said, I got to give myself grace. I understand, like you said, I'm not out here just playing 2K or just running around or chilling or anything. Like, I'm actually like putting in the work to build something so they can reap the benefits of what I'm building. What would you say for you was like one of the biggest sacrifices that you had to make?
Choosing myself. I have a lot of obligations that I've made that I probably shouldn't have made obligations, but I'm a very thoughtful, considerate person. I don't like to see people struggle or not have. And with me being in a position that I am, I have a very unique way of loving on people and nurturing them. In the midst of that, in entrepreneurship, people sometimes latch on to where you are, whether it's financial or whether it's because you're doing good and you have a title or a status. For me, the sacrifice I had to make was letting go some people I didn't want to let go. Choosing myself was the best thing I could have ever did. As a personal suggestion or a personal choice and decision, and as a business, because people will drive you crazy if you let them.
Oh yeah,
they will. And then people have a sense of entitlement because they feel like you Carlos, you my brother, you my cousin, you my son, you Brittany, you my daughter, you my sister, you my cousin, you my homegirl. But I'm gonna be honest, you don't owe nobody nothing. You don't owe nobody nothing. What you do, what I do, is what we do because we should want to, not feeling pressured or obligated. So for me, it was choosing myself and learning not to feel bad for my decisions.
Absolutely. What advice would you have for anyone, they may be going through some of these things or they want to pursue their own dreams? May not be entrepreneurship, it may be entrepreneurship, different type of business or anything. But for somebody that wants to pursue their own dreams, like, what advice would you have for them?
Learn yourself. First of all, learn who you are as a person. When I say that, I mean, dive deep into your triggers, your traumas, your generational DNA. Because I feel like once you can understand who you are, it'll make sense as to why you chose the path that you're choosing. I would say always remain open to change. It's okay not to be okay at times, but understand that you have purpose. I would also say be open-minded when it comes to forgiving yourself, because I'm talking broad. I'm not even just talking about entrepreneurship. This is personal and entrepreneurship. Forgive yourself, love yourself, understand who you are. Be open to shifting your mindset. You can't always think the same way from the age of a 3-year-old to a 30-year-old. You got to shift your mindset at some point. So don't always play victim. Understand that, everything didn't happen to you. It happened for you. And it's okay to release the hurt. If someone has hurt you or somebody has did you wrong in business or and in personal, you can only do one or two things. You can go to them and try to make it right. And if they don't want to make it right, let it go. Like you can't hold on too much baggage in your personal life and your business life because it becomes too heavy to carry. And it starts affecting your business. It starts affecting your movements. It starts affecting who you are as a parent, who you are as a husband or as a wife, who you are as a person, who you are as a friend. You got to know when enough is enough. And it's not giving up. It's you're choosing yourself. So I would say, find who you are. Be courageous. Take the leap of faith. Take risk. Understand that everything didn't happen to you. Some things happen for you. Change the mindset. Be open and available to forgiving. And just always, 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 no matter what the world is doing around you, always stay true to yourself and stay in your own lane.
Absolutely. Is there anything for you that you would do differently looking back on your journey? Is there anything that you would tell yourself to do differently?
Take more risks. I'm a risk taker naturally, but even right now, I'm doing a few pondering. I'm pondering on a couple different avenues of business that I have. Now I've hired a staff of 6 people with this business and a few more with other business. I'm considering moving to Austin, Texas. It was Houston.
So then you gonna leave us?
I'm considering moving. This is a consideration. Because I feel like, not that I've outgrown the area. I feel like there's more for me. But I'm considering, but I'm also in prayer because I feel like I can move there because of my thought process and get there and it'd be nothing. So it's like, I got to make sure that I'm even open to taking risks here in Greenville because I network a good bit, but I feel like I can network more. I think because I'm so busy with businesses, I go to a couple events, that's once a month or, the Chamber of Commerce or just social events or whatever. But I think for me, what I would change is and do more of is take more risk and not be afraid of tapping into my full potential.
When you said that about, relocate, I've been battling with that as well because, like you say, sometimes you feel like you might have outgrown a place. Mm-hmm. And I've said this before on here that I've had conversations with people that I actually work with. And they would tell me, it's nothing wrong with leaving and then coming back home and building something. But it was a part of me, I always felt like I wanted to stay home and just build something for the people. But then at times I'm like, man, have I outgrown this place? Is it time for me to move on and go somewhere else and, and to continue building my own dreams? So that's something I still battle with. I love where I'm from, like I always said, but I was like, I don't know if I really want to stay or is it time to, I guess that's one of those things that, of course, I always pray. And like I said, I write down my goals. And like I said, I want something here for the people, but at the same time, I still kind of want to see what else is out there as well.
Yeah, I feel like one thing I remember seeing and hearing about a lot of time is I think everyone should move out of their hometown at least once to gain more. Mm-hmm. I agree with that because I ain't going back where I come from. I love it. I visit, but that ain't where I'm not there. I'm not there mentally and physically anymore. Who to say, though? Thought-provoking moment. Who to say that with us wanting to build up the neighborhood or where we're from, that our purpose isn't to go into another territory to gain connections, to gain knowledge, to gain experiences, to create opportunities, and bring them right back to the house where we're from, cultivate it there, and use those same connections that people we met or resources and then build there. Like, what if that's not the case? I'm a strong believer that I'm going to cultivate no matter where I'm at. But I'm big on connecting with the right people. Mm-hmm. I don't want attachments. I want connections. So for me, it's more so about going out there or going anywhere. I'm a free spirit. I can live in the bushes. It don't bother me. But who to say that out of fear or out of complacency or being stagnated, that we choose not to move to somewhere else because of what looks good and feel good because of our hometown. But then what if something bigger that's more purposeful is over there, and then now you've aborted your purpose? Because what if something's bigger there and meant to be there that's going to build our character or build our pockets or build our purpose and then make it better over here? Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so open to wherever I'm supposed to be is where I'm supposed to be. Because doors would not open if it wasn't supposed to open.
Absolutely. And you know what, now that you said it, I feel like even with me doing all the traveling that I'm doing, because honestly, like, even this year, but in the past, like, majority of the interviews I do, or at least half of them, I'm not even in the area. Like, we out the state. So I feel like I'm still taking information and extracting it and bringing it back here. So I'm doing that now, but it's still part of me is like, man, I still don't know. Is it the right time to up and move? But to me, kind of like using a sports analogy, like when LeBron went to Miami and won a championship, but it felt like it meant more for him when he went back home to Cleveland and won it there. To me, it felt like it would mean more. It would mean more for me to build something that's able to sustain if I built it at home. It's kind of like I'm in that dynamic right there. But like you said, there's nothing wrong with leaving, relocating, and then you still bringing something back home for the people. But that's one of those things that I still, ponder at times. Like, is it time or do I need to stay here? And, plus family and everything, that's one of the toughest decisions for me. But I think over time, like, I'll figure it out. Even if I just go to Charlotte, which is still not far anyway. Yeah. I'm already in that market working up there with the Hornets anyway, so that still wouldn't be too far. But there's a part of me that still wants to, up and leave at time. But I do love where I'm from. I'm never going to be one of those people that say, get online and just bash my hometown. Like, right. I don't understand why people do that type of stuff.
Me neither.
Like, regardless of how you feel, like, that's still home, regardless. But we got to get ready to wrap it up. I got a couple more questions. This is the Crossline Podcast Self-Investment Tour. And what I like to ask everybody when they come on here is, what does self-investment mean to you?
I would say self-investment means for me, being aware, self-aware. People don't understand the meaning behind being self-aware. It's knowing who you are. I would say spending time with yourself, being open and committed to self-care. I would say gaining knowledge, gaining understanding of the things that you want to do in life, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. I would say with self-investment, it would be more so of taking the time out to make sure that you're good in every aspect.
Absolutely. Brittany, I want to thank you again for taking the time to sit down with me. I appreciate it. I'm glad we crossed paths at the conference, man. It was a really good time. Like I said, up there, we didn't have a lot of time to, with everybody on the panel, have a full-blown discussion. So I made sure, like I said, I was keeping my word. I said, I definitely want to have you come on. I still got to get some other people on as well, but thank you for taking the time to join us.
Absolutely.
There's one other thing I wanted to ask you. I should have asked it earlier when we were talking about, finances and everything and credit. As far as it goes with credit, would you say it's a better thing to have bad credit or no credit at all?
I'm gonna say no credit at all, and I say that because if you have no credit, you can build a credit and make it positive credit. If you got bad credit, you got to undo everything you've done wrong and try to fix it. And it's going to be harder to my thought process because now you got to unravel everything that impacted your credit to be bad. But if you have no credit, then you're not a high risk, because you don't have nothing to show that you was a high risk. But if you start building on it, you can teach a person, how to build credit. But it's hard to show a person how to change their ways that created bad credit.
Absolutely. And if they need any help with their finances or repairing credit or anything, they can come find you. So
That's right.
Please tell them how they can find you online on social media.
They can find me on Facebook, Soaring Heights Financial Services. You can find me pretty much on Google, Soaring Heights Financial Services. Website, Soaring Heights Financial Service. You can book your appointments, consultations, all that good stuff there. I have an office number, 864-527-0422, or personal. But yes, social media. All
right. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate you again. Before we get out of here, is it one other word of advice or a word of encouragement that you want to give to the people watching?
To be honest, just stay true to yourself, know your lane, stay in your path, and always be open to elevation.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate the time. Hopefully everybody that watched this episode of Cross the Line Podcast, you enjoyed it. You took a lot of things away from it. So until next time, keep chasing dreams. This is the Cross the Line Podcast. Thank you for listening.